Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a book review on The Mystery of Mrs Christie by Marie Benedict. The Mystery of Mrs Christie by Marie Benedict follows the real-life 11-day disappearance of mystery writer Agatha Christie. What is the real story? Did Agatha Christie concoct her own disappearance, or did she suffer amnesia like she claimed? At the center of this mystery is her husband, Archie Christie, who faces media backlash and scrutiny as he searches for clues and answers to his wife's whereabouts. Okay, you guys, this may be a little silly, but my only familiarity with this real-life event that happened to Agatha Christie, where she disappears for 11 days, my only familiarity with that and how I kind of got introduced to the idea is through the 4th season episode of Doctor Who called The Unicorn and the Wasp. And I love that episode. It is such a great, silly episode featuring Agatha Christie, and there's alien wasps and whatnot, and yeah, do they have something to do with the disappearance of Agatha Christie and this and that? Yeah. So anyway, when I first watched that episode of Doctor Who, I remember thinking, okay, is this a real thing? Did mystery writer Agatha Christie, did she really disappear? Sure enough, I remember after that episode aired, I did like some research, and I was just blown away that Agatha Christie really did disappear for 11 days, and she claimed amnesia and whatnot. So that was just absolutely mind-blowing to me. And the even more insane thing is that Agatha Christie never talked about it. She never went into detail about it. It's like she just totally wiped it off the slate. And it is, even to this day, it's this unsolved mystery of a sort, you know? So that's what you're getting with this book. Marie Benedict is going into those 11 days and kind of doing her own, okay, maybe this is what happened. You know, because no one knows, and Agatha Christie just went to her grave and never talking about it, which is so insane. So yeah, I really loved this book, you guys. And I gotta say, out of all of the Marie Benedict books that I've read so far, I really think this is my favorite so far. I have previously read Marie Benedict's The Only Woman in the Room, which focused on Hedy Lamarr, actress Hedy Lamarr, and Lady Clementine, which focused on Clementine Churchill, wife of Winston Churchill. I previously read those two books. I really enjoyed them. But the thing about those two books is that the narratives are very linear, and they read kind of like, you know, paint-by-numbers historical fiction, if you will. Or like what I kind of like to call books like that, you know, the greatest hits. You know, a book that's going into the life and times of a historical figure, and you start at this point and you go to like this point, you know, and it's all very linear, and an author is essentially just hitting all of, you know, these big beats and whatnot. So that's fine and dandy. I do enjoy books like that. I love historical fiction. That's kind of what you get with the genre. So what I liked about this book in particular, why I'm definitely saying this is my favorite out of all the books by Marie Benedict so far, why I like this book is because it's focused on a very specific event, which is the 11-day disappearance of Agatha Christie. And the book is linear in a fashion. You do have 2 points of view going on throughout this book that goes back and forth. Your first point of view is obviously Agatha Christie herself, and it goes back to, is it 1925? No, sorry, not 1925. We start back in 1912, where we meet a young Agatha Christie when she first meets her husband, Archie Christie. How their relationship develops, that their relationship is very fast and insane, and they get married really quickly. So you do start in 1912, and you kind of go through the years there throughout the entire book, but you do eventually lead to the 1926 disappearance. So you have that narrative with Agatha Christie going through the whole book. And then the other narrative going through the whole book is the 11-day 1926 disappearance. And the point of view you are focused on in this scenario is entirely through Archie Christie. As he is trying to figure out where his wife is, his own involvement in some stuff going on, and his interactions with law enforcement, all of the media backlash that he is facing and whatnot, and all the scrutiny, because he is the husband after all. Does he have something to do with it? So that's why I really love this book. You do have these two points of view with both Agatha and Archie interweaving in and out. You know, here's a chapter with Agatha, chapter with Archie, Agatha, Archie, Agatha, Archie. That is the entire book. So it's linear in a fashion, but as I mentioned, it's still very heavily focused on this one key event, which is this 11-day disappearance in 1926 with Agatha Christie, which I just really loved. So, in turn, what you get with this book, because Agatha Christie is known for being a mystery writer, she is often labeled the queen of crime, of this genre, if you will. She created some of the best all-time crime stories. So you have her, she is a mystery thriller author, and her disappearance itself becomes like this mystery thriller, you know, like, oh my god, what happened to the author, you know, this and that. And it's very just highly publicized. And apparently even Arthur Conan Doyle, you guys. I was just amused about this because I had to look this up if this was for real. Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of Sherlock Holmes, he was even wrapped up into this whole thing, and people kind of going to him for advice about, hey, do you think you can help us find mystery writer Agatha Christie? So this whole book, it's just kind of brilliantly done because it turns into this mystery book as well. And you, the reader, are put in the position of trying to figure out this mystery. What is going on? Do you think, you, the reader, do you think you can figure out the answer by the time the novel ends? Now, my issue with this book, you guys, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, this book, I think, it's unfortunately incredibly predictable. As you head into the book, what I can pretty much guarantee, whatever your initial thought is about what is going on, you're probably correct. Because I went into this book and I was immediately kind of thinking, okay, I think I know what's going on here. I think I figured out everything. And sure enough, as the book kind of kept, you know, unveiling some stuff, unveiling more and more information, my suspicions were only growing more, you know, hey, I think I am correct in my assumptions. So this book is definitely highly predictable. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I guessed the ending perfectly, and I'm not even exaggerating that. I pretty much guessed exactly the ending and exactly the direction this book was going in, but that didn't upset me or frustrate me, because if anything, I was just kind of along for the ride, like, hey, I wonder if my assumptions are correct, and sure enough they were. Because I still found the book very well written and really well crafted together for the most part. I was highly enjoying myself and enjoying the mystery, as predictable as it was. It's just kind of one of those books, you know, that you are kind of there for the ride, even though you have guessed certain things. Because I did, like I said, I just really liked Marie Benedict's writing and how she did weave Agatha's story and Archie's story, you know, the back and forth narrative and whatnot, and their relationship, because that's the core of this book. The core of this book is the Archie and Agatha relationship and their marriage, and kind of the fallout and destruction and unhealthiness of it. I do want to quote a specific paragraph from Marie Benedict's author acknowledgments, or her author notes at the very end of the book, because this is essentially what this book boils down to, and kind of the themes and messages that Marie Benedict is going with, and what she is overall trying to do with this book, kind of within the greater mystery that's going on. So yes, she writes here, Agatha was that rare example of a woman who used her skill and talent and moxie to escape from the confines of her era, with the limitations it placed on women, and wrest control of her life. So instead of writing a forgotten woman back into history, as my other books have done, this book explores one strong woman's successful endeavor to take her history into her own hands and write herself back into her own narrative. And I just really love that, you guys. That is exactly what you are kind of getting with this book. Because Marie Benedict makes a big deal that, you know, Agatha Christie, when she was writing, she slowly did get fame, but the thing is, she quickly became successful. And even to this day, Agatha Christie is still a top best-selling novelist, and the woman's been dead for a long time, but her books continue to sell. They continue to be turned into TV adaptations, movie adaptations. So what Marie Benedict wanted to do with this novel is just go into this woman's life. You know, instead of bringing forward a forgotten woman, as she kind of says, because, you know, that's why she did like Hedy Lamarr and a Clementine Churchill, you know, two women that were kind of behind the scenes of stuff and were overshadowed by greater men and whatnot. But yeah, this book, Agatha Christie, she is not overshadowed by anyone. This is just her story about how she possibly, you know, some of the events that happen and her relationship and her marriage with her husband and whatnot, how that turns her into one of the most powerful writers ever. And yeah, her taking back her own life and whatnot. And there's a lot of just really powerful, like, feminist themes and messages, I think, in this book. And yes, she did. She lived in a time period where she did have limitations. Women were supposed to be a certain way, behave a certain way. If they showed any sort of emotion, they were considered like crazy and hysterical, you know. So yeah, this book is definitely just tackling, you know, the issues of the era of the 1920s and whatnot, and what it meant to be a woman. How Agatha Christie, you know, is really jumping those hurdles. And over, you know, those limitations, and how those limitations essentially turn her into a great writer. So overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this book, despite it having a very highly predictable ending, you guys. I still highly enjoyed this book from start to finish. It's a very short book for starters. There's no dilly-dallying or anything. Marie Benedict, you know, she kind of just cuts to the chase where she needs to, and really delivers a great mystery. And yeah, doing some really great things with Agatha Christie, and, you know, really kind of getting into some really great feminist topics and whatnot, if you will. So yeah, I definitely recommend this if you love all things Agatha Christie, if you want to see Agatha Christie kind of at the, you know, as one of the leads of a book like this. So yeah, that's it for this video. Have you guys read The Mystery of Mrs Christie? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Just let me know your thoughts. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.